Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Tonight on Our News, the Prime Minister moves to extend the state of emergency one last time. We'll tell you what's next. The opposition leader questions the difference an hour makes as curfews are tightened. A former health minister cautions Bahamians after 4 COVID-positive women give birth in one day. Plus, the Queen is getting bumped off the $100 bill. We'll tell you who will replace her. But first, police searching for the suspects responsible for a murder on Marshall Road. It's August 10th, 2021. Welcome to Our News. I'm Christina Dragovich. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis tabling a resolution to extend the state of emergency until November 13th. He also tabled the long-awaited Public Health Emergency Preparedness and Management Bill. Attorney General Carl Bethel told reporters on Tuesday that the bill will provide the legislative framework to manage the public health emergency once the state of emergency expires in November. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Prime Minister tabling the long-awaited 20-page bill in the House of Assembly today that he insists will start a new regime when it comes to handling a health crisis in the Bahamas. The Prime Minister tabling both the bill and the resolution, citing the continuing need to protect public health amid surging COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Outside the House, the Attorney General told the press that the Public Health Emergency Preparedness and Management Bill would replace the emergency order put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19.
It is a framework that will allow for laws and rules and regulations to be imposed, such as mask mandates, the travel health visa, physical distancing requirements. You may be able to close certain businesses or restrict persons allowed in businesses on the basis of public health concerns. So long as any order is an order that is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society.
The AG also explained how it would work.
The Minister of Health, on the advice of health officials, is the person who will make a declaration of health emergency based on the pandemic. So it's no longer the Governor General. The Minister of Health will be able to prescribe rules. Any declaration of a public health emergency will last for three months, but it must be tabled in Parliament within 21 days. Parliament will have the immediate right at any time to revoke the declaration of health emergency by resolution.
It also calls for the PM to prepare a national plan outlining preventative plans, preparedness and mitigation measures, response and implementation plans.
What COVID-19 has shown us is that the unexpected can hit you at a moment's notice in a devastating way.
The Bahamas has been in a state of emergency since March 2020 after the first case of COVID-19 was confirmed. More than 15,000 cases have been confirmed since then. Bethel defended the move to extend the state of emergency for another 3 months, citing the low vaccination rate.
We want to reach a position where every single Bahamian who wants to get a vaccine can get the vaccine, period, full stop. And that is the goal. Now, once you reach that kind of levels of vaccination, then it's possible to release and to look at other more enduring methods to handle both this pandemic and any successor that may come around the corner.
Bethel says the bill will be tweaked and debated in Parliament following public consultation. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Opposition leader Philip Davis says legislation to replace the state of emergency could have been introduced earlier. Davis says the Minnis administration has failed to be proactive in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic.
There's no doubt this is now, 17, 18, 19 months later. He's just now pretending to produce a piece of legislation to address this matter. And so the question have to always be asked, why is it that he wanted to cloak all of the measures that he's been implementing, all the spending that he's been engaged in with this cloak of the proclamation of emergency, which leaves much to be desired in respect of transparency and accountability.
With the debate on the state of emergency expected to begin tomorrow and the implementation of a 9 to 5 a.m. curfew taking effect, Davis is also questioning the difference an hour makes.
We've always thought that lockdowns and curfews are unnecessary tools in this fight. What is necessary is ensuring that we plan properly, that we have in place the proper testing regime, the proper contact tracing regime, and the facilities to treat persons who have been identified with having the virus.
Well, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis using his national address Monday night to once again encourage Bahamians to get vaccinated against COVID-19. That, he says, will move the country out of the emergency phase of the pandemic and lead to what he believes may be the biggest growth in the economy in a generation. This as the Prime Minister assured Bahamians that government is working to make vaccines available to everyone who wants to be vaccinated.
I want to make a very clear statement. My government will not make vaccinations mandatory. We understand that some Bahamians still have questions. Some Bahamians still are doing research. Some are still uncertain.
Beginning Wednesday, August 11th, curfew on mainland Exuma, Abaco, and North and South Eleuthera, including Harbor Island, will be from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. On New Providence, Paradise Island, and Grand Bahama, the new curfew will be from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. The PM says the curfew will be strictly enforced and enforcement is being increased. Well, one local hospital was hit with a major dilemma over the past week when all 4 of the women who gave birth that day in the hospital were COVID positive. Former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands now urging Bahamians to be more cautious than ever. Kyle Joaquin has more.
This was very recently, within the last 4 days.
He wouldn't say which institution, but former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands says one day over the past week proved to be a challenge for one hospital after 4 women, all COVID positive, gave birth.
I didn't specify which institution, but I did make it very clear that it was one of the major maternity facilities in the country. My heart bleeds for those persons who, at a very precious time, are now stressed because they not only have to deal with the challenges of labor and delivery, but COVID.
And he says the issue has become much more serious with more pregnant women now contracting the virus, impacting the country's maternal mortality rate, which for years has been relatively low.
COVID is changing that. And if you look now between the private sector and the public sector, we have had at least 125 women who have now delivered when they were COVID positive. And we have lost a number of those women.
Health Minister Rembert Wells was asked about it today. He didn't confirm nor deny, but said this.
Across the board, folks are testing positive for COVID-19, and so at the end of the day, we are seeking to continue to encourage the Bahamian people to adhere as best that they can to the health protocols.
Sands now calling for Bahamians to practice a bit more personal responsibility as the virus is impacting more people before they even enter the world.
We are now looking at the obvious implications of COVID. People with pneumonia, people that are elderly, people with comorbidities. And we're now seeing it attack the unborn, the pregnant mother, the young child less than 18, infants, and so on and so forth.
Again, Sands says it's all about being cautious and protecting not just yourself, but your family and friends as well. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Our News reached out to Doctors Hospital for comment. In a statement, the private institution said, in keeping with Doctors Hospital's position on patient confidentiality, we will not comment on this matter. Another hot day across the country as islands in the southeast Bahamas go under tropical storm watch. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome, everybody, for your Tuesday's first look at weather around the islands. Of course, the high-pressure system remains in charge across the area. That's generating some very stiff easterly breeze. Temperatures in the mid-80s, 84 outside our studios. Few clouds, we'll call it warm. Your winds are out of the east at 6 knots, and your feels-like temperature in the mid to upper 80s. Satellite view, that stiff easterly breeze bringing in some fair weather cue, and we are seeing a couple of spotty showers across the islands, but Conditions are going to remain quiet for the night, but we do have some significant weather expected for our area tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, how residents react to word of rising food prices. Police search for the suspects who shot and killed a man at Marshall Road, plus how government will honor the legacy of A.D. Hanna. That's coming up when our news returns. One man is dead and another is fighting for his life in hospital after a shooting on Marshall Road Monday night. According to police, shortly after 7 p.m. Monday, the pair were standing outside a home talking when gunmen pulled up and opened fire on them.
A Jeep, dark colored Jeep, pulled through this corner. Two males exited, both armed with handguns, and one armed with a handgun, one armed with a rifle, and they opened fire on the victims. Okay, we're appealing to members of the public, especially from this community, which is a close-knit community, to please assist the police in bringing this matter to closure.
Superintendent Michael Johnson says it's concerning when high-powered weapons are used. It's too early to tell if the incident is related to that shooting over the weekend or if it was gang-related. The deceased is said to be in his 40s and the hospitalized man is in his 20s. Family members were inconsolable on scene as officers carted the body away. Johnson says officers will do their best to keep communities safe.
Patrols are always in this area. East Street South Police Station is not too far from here, and they have a 24-hour patrol in this area. But again, I appeal to members of the public, if they see anything suspicious, to please contact your local police and let us know, so we could try to prevent some of these incidents, unfortunate incidents that continue to happen in this society.
Meanwhile, the death of 34-year-old Gervais Anderson still hitting his family hard. Giorgio Bain has that story.
The death of 34-year-old Gervais Anderson still not feeling real to his father, Edward Anderson, who described the past few days as a nightmare.
I ain't sleep yet. I have been eating good.
Gervais's mother, Leanda Anderson, was on the telephone with his grandfather that night when the gunshots rang out. She says she instantly knew something wasn't right.
I heard the gunshots. I said, Daddy, I hear gunshots. I gone. As I walked to come outside, I said, but I ain't called Zario. So I said, Zario. She said, Mommy, Ray's dead. Zario's the one he learned afterward, was the one who found him.
The incident taking place just a few feet away from the Andersons' home. Anderson's family describing him as a kind comedian.
Gervais was, when you say, the fun, jovial type person. Whoever, when you say, I got your back, he had your back. If you need something, and Gervais had it, it was yours. If you was hungry and Gervais had to go there and buy you food, you got that.
He came to me and he said, Auntie, I come to bring this to you because you know I got a little business not billing now, but little that I have, I will share with you. I said, be safe. Keep all the people away. Don't let nobody know what you're doing because don't trust nobody.
Gervais was a budding entrepreneur with his own tow truck and auto mechanic shop specializing in repairing transmissions. He was building his own home adjacent to his mother's house and told her that he would be moving in soon. His family believes jealousy may be the motive behind Anderson's murder.
I was informed by the police that it was envy. My child is laying in the morgue today because of hatred.
We ain't looking for no revenge, you know. We can let go and deal with that. We ain't looking for no revenge. Our violence, it ain't our violence, the Lord's violence.
And now Anderson's family is seeking answers. If you or anyone you know has any tips that could lead to solving his tragic murder, please don't hesitate to call police at 328-TIPS. Reporting for our news from Odell Corner, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
In other news, a major grocery store owner is warning that food prices could increase by up to 8% by Christmas as challenges brought on by the pandemic, including food shortages in Florida, have an impact here at home. Here's Jared Higgs.
It's ridiculous, man. Real talk. People like us with all these children and things like that, in no way.
Consumers frustrated by high prices and word that they're set to get higher.
A lot of people still isn't working. And a lot of people, even if they're working, I mean, the incomes that they're getting, they come in to really like put groceries in their house to feed the kids and what's not. It's extremely too high right now.
Eyewitness News Online reported that SuperValue owner Rupert Roberts has warned that an 8% increase in the cost of groceries could be reality by Christmas. He says many goods are in short supply, along with increased demand and rising freight costs.
The few items in my hand right now is on $20 for just what's in my hand. 22, 2 juice, fruits, and salami. Wow.
Shoppers, many just getting back on their feet after pandemic job losses, say prices have been high for a while now. One businessman says the prices of other goods have also increased.
COVID has caused a lot of shipping lanes to be closed. Price of everything, lumber has gone up. The economy is just going up. You got to work out and try to see if you could put a couple extra hours in. I guess, I mean, what else could you do?
Another shopper, a 55-year teaching veteran, offered a suggestion that could help consumers save money.
We need to start growing our own stuff and it'll be less. All over the world, it's not only in the Bahamas, this is all over. I'm so sorry for these people. What if they make any money?
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
When Our News comes back from the break, increased demand for vaccines in West Grand Bahama. It's when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. A former Grand Bahama MP is agitating for vaccines to be available in his constituency as the journey into the city is a burden for some. Berthany McDermott reports.
Former West End and Bimini Member of Parliament Obi Wilshcombe is calling for a permanent vaccination center in West Grand Bahama. Wilshcombe says many who wish to be vaccinated aren't able to travel to the center in Freeport.
Having to travel the distance, almost 30 miles into Freeport, is problematic. In addition to that, there's technology and the problems of technology that we are faced with on a daily basis. How do you register? How do you get in? Many have left these communities, have gone into Freeport, and have been turned back. And they've been told that, you're not there, you'll have to, and they set a date and they get a date and then they can't do it.
Following the arrival of additional vaccines, 2 additional sites were reopened on New Providence. The Susan J. Wallace Community Center is the only vaccination center currently on Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama Health Services Administrator Sharon Williams told Our News on Friday that officials will assess the need for additional centers as demand increases. These residents say they made the 30-mile drive to Freeport to get inoculated, but a vaccination center in West End would make it more accessible for more residents.
When people have to leave West End to go all the way to Freeport to get vaccinated, they have to be looking for transportation and all that. It's kind of a little hassle for them to get up there and get back.
It is a lot of people. And some people can't get no way of getting up,
So if it comes down here, it'll be easier for them.
Wilchcombe, who was also the PLP's candidate for the area, also responding to staffing concerns if another center is opened on the island.
I think the same way the government reached out to get nurses and doctors who've retired, they can do so for Grand Bahama. The nurses and doctors who've since retired, I know many who have retired, who are here, they could utilize them as well. They could bring them in. They can bring in persons who have the training to assist. It's not difficult to do.
Reporting for Our News.
In other news, business owners are lamenting the new 9 p.m. curfew as many of them say the rapid changes are hard to adapt to. Jillian Gray tells us more.
From hand sanitizing to mask wearing, requiring social distancing to requiring testing, restaurants say they've done all they can to ensure that their clients are safe, but it's their business that may be on life support soon if restrictions get any tougher.
We've already had about a 60+% cancellation, even though we've been trying to get them to come earlier. Starting tomorrow, we're going to offer all-day dining. So from noon till 8 for anybody, we're trying to adapt, but...
New Providence and Grand Bahama will be on a 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew starting Wednesday.
People come here to dine and relax. They don't come here to be rushed and go home.
It's a strain for them to get off work, get ready, come down here. It's not really fair to them.
This is the second curfew change in a month. The rapidly fluctuating measures is taking a toll on businesses, including Shomani Bistro, which just recently opened for dining.
Patrons that you normally would have at the 8 o'clock hour who would come in and dine with us, which is a peak time, those persons are now having to leave because there's obviously curfews.
Businesses say only turning one table a night will leave them struggling to survive.
We've had a good steady inflow of visitors to the country, and we need that to keep going, to keep our economy going. And if that's not going to happen, then we're going to go back to March 2020.
We do offer the free rapid antigen testing, but while it is free to them, it is also an expense to us.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Ahead on Our News, some Bahamian islands placed under tropical storm watch. Plus, the Queen will be replaced on the $100 bill. We'll tell you who will take the spot when Our News returns.
Please be advised that REV has commenced mass disconnection exercises for all accounts with outstanding balances of 90 days or more. Delinquent account holders are advised to pay their bill immediately to avoid service interruption. Simply call us on 605-PAYS or WhatsApp 829-PAYS to make payments or to discuss payment options. Failure to do so will result in service disconnection. To view and pay your bill online anytime, simply visit my.rev.bs.
Welcome back to Our News. That disturbance in the Atlantic was expected to develop into a tropical storm later today or tonight. Greg has the full details over in the Weather Center.
Thanks again, Christine. Welcome back, everybody, for your second look at weather. Of course, we are talking the tropics. We are watching potential tropical cyclone number 6 as of the 5 p.m. advisory affecting Puerto Rico. Showers and thunderstorms associated with that system will be continuing to spread towards the west-northwest as we anticipate the system to move over Hispaniola by tomorrow morning. The National Hurricane Center sent in a Hurricane Hunter aircraft, and that system did not find its closed circulation, so it's not quite a tropical storm right now, but it's anticipated by tonight it could possibly make it to tropical storm status. Track of the system taking it across those islands, Puerto Rico, late tonight and into tomorrow. We expect it to be across Hispaniola Thursday morning into the southeast Bahamas, and then continuing to move towards the west-northwest along the Cuban coast. A lot of rainfall associated with the system will be moving into the southeast Bahamas, so we could see up to 2 to 4 inches. So flooding in some low-lying areas in the southeast and portions of the central Bahamas is a possibility, and we're asking you to exercise extreme caution with those rainfall amounts. Boating forecasts for the northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. We expect those winds to be out of the east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While in the central and southeast Bahamas, we asking boaters in the southeast Bahamas to remain in port, and in the central Bahamas to not venture far from port. Those winds will be starting to pick up towards tropical storm conditions. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Sunday. That's a look at our weather. We will continue to monitor the progress of this system over the next couple of days. Back to Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Well, the $100 bill is getting a new face, a Bahamian one. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announcing in the House of Assembly today that the image of former Governor General Arthur Hanna will grace the new $100 bill. This as the PM reflected on the former GG's legacy.
So that we can remember the contributions of the Honorable A.D. Hanna, Speaker. A new $100 bill bearing the face of A.D. Hanna, replacing that of the Queen.
Hanna, who is also the former Deputy Prime Minister and the Bahamas' 7th Governor General, died at home last week. He was 93. Hanna, the father of Englerston MP Glenys Hanna Martin, served as a Member of Parliament for 32 years, having first been elected in 1960. He was appointed Deputy Premier following the attainment of majority rule in 1967 and later Deputy Prime Minister. He held that position until his resignation in 1984. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.